Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dark Phoenix Gaming here, and welcome to an update video. Now, it's been a while since I've been able to post any content. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is the weather. It's just been hot as a bitch around here lately. It's been up in the 80s and a few times in the 90s, so when I run my computer for long periods of time, and it's really hot, that tends to end with the room being quite sweltering as a result. And I also sleep in the same room my computer's in. So yeah, that's part of the reason why it's not been really active on the content front for a good long while. Other than that, though, there's also just the fact that I've sort of been figuring out what kind of content that I want to be doing on the channel, because I'm not really feeling it with the whole one-offs and first impressions and things. And I was just spending some time figuring out what direction I wanted to do, and as it turns out, as will probably be of no surprise, even though they don't get nearly so many views, I just fundamentally enjoy doing Let's Plays more than I do one-offs and first impressions. And I enjoy RPGs the most out of all of that, so going forward, that's what you're going to see on this channel. There will be one of two kinds of games that will make the cut for Let's Plays. Number one is simply RPGs, and most of those will be JRPGs, although there are a few more Western RPGs that will make it through, just if I think that I'll like them. But yeah, mostly JRPGs, just because that is my favorite genre of game, full stop. Other than that, if I find a strategy game, because I'm also lumping strategy RPGs in among the JRPG umbrella here. If I find a strategy game that leans on the role-playing aspects and character development and things, sort of in the vein of how Crusader Kings does it, with the character focus and things, there's a chance those will make it in as well. But furthermore, the second part of this announcement, which some people may not be well pleased with, it really depends on how much you were enjoying my old stuff, but I've decided that because it's been so long since I posted anything for any of them, and in a few cases it just didn't get very far, and other things, I've actually gone ahead and decided that I am canceling all of my ongoing series. In the case of Dragon Age, that was a modded series, and I don't have access to any of the mods anymore. So it would take me quite a long time to get it set back up again with mods, and I don't know, I just feel like that would be more effort than it's worth. If I ever decide to come back to Dragon Age, it's going to be pure vanilla, just as the game ships, just because that's not nearly so much of a headache. Dwarf Fortress, I've been out of it for so long, I no longer even know what I'm doing in that series, so honestly, if I ever did come back to that, it would be to give it a fresh take, and a full restart would be best in that case. And other than that, I finally put the official cancelled label on Prophecy of Pendor, which had been cancelled just without the label for a very long time. But I still have the save games for that mod. So if I ever decide I want to go back and continue Arya's story in Prophecy of Pendor, I have the ability to do that. The saves are backed up on my external hard drive, and they're not going anywhere. So as long as I can get access to the right version of the mod, or if saves are forward compatible, which is something I'll have to do some research on, but as long as one of those two is the case, I can go back and continue with Arya at any point. Although I don't know how likely I am to do that, just because as Mount & Blade Warband is one of those games that if I stop playing for any length of time, I have to refamiliarize myself with how to play and figure out what was going on at the time. But yeah, that's really all we have to say right now. I say we, as if I'm some sort of collective or like the Borg or something. Nice. But moving forward, I have a few ideas I'm leaning on for what to do for starting a fresh Let's Play. It's going to be a JRPG, and I have 2 or 3 things that I'm considering. And I'm not opening this up for a vote because I want to decide for myself. The first option I'm thinking of actually doing is .hack GU, the last recode, the full trilogy. I've mentioned it a few times over the years, but I am a massive fan of the .hack games, specifically GU. I never played the originals, but .hack GU is one of those games that I used to own a copy for the PlayStation 2, but then I traded it in at GameStop, all 3 of my games, because I wasn't playing them anymore. What a mistake that was, because when I decided I wanted to get copies again and went back to GameStop to buy them, Bandai had stopped production of the discs, so GameStop didn't carry them anymore, and I could not get a copy. Yeah. And it went by for years and years and years that the only way I could play the .hack GU games was through emulation with the PCSX2 emulator, and then the remaster came out on PC, and you bet your ass I jumped on that, because being able to play something where all I have to do is hit install on Steam and then play it, even if it is like 3 to 4 times the size of the original trilogy, it really was just worth it. And honestly, for a PC remaster of an old game, it turned out pretty good. Even if there is some weird stuff, and it defaults to an Xbox controller scheme and not a PlayStation one, given that's what I play with these days, it makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, that's my first possibility for what I might play. Second on the list of maybe things is actually Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. I've never actually played an SMT game before. I own a couple, but I've never played any of them. I dipped my toes into SMT5 a little and played that just enough to get past the prologue section, I guess you would say, but that's as far as I've gotten. So it's one that I really want to play, and honestly, SMT5 has been on my list for a long time, so maybe I will. I don't know. Another possibility is Persona 4 Golden. Now, I've mentioned this a few times before, and these have wound up on top games I played that year lists a few times, so it shouldn't surprise you that this is on here, given my feelings on Persona 3 and Persona 5 Royal, but yeah, I absolutely love the Persona games. One of my favorite video game series of all time. Which it should also not surprise you that I am kind of hype for the Persona 4 remake and Persona 6. But I want to play the original Persona 4 Golden, which I know isn't the original. Technically, I should play the version for PS2 if I want to play the original. But I want the version that has more content and everything, so this seemed like the better pick. And that's another option on my list is Persona 4 Golden. Now, there's also the possibility of one of the Tales of games. for a Let's Play, because I started playing Tales of Symphonia recently, but I haven't gotten very far, so I could always restart and go with that. And I do own Tales of Arise and Tales of Zestiria, so they're all options. I don't know what the best starting point is. And the final choice on my list right now would probably be Trails in the Sky, specifically the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky original version, because I own the remake of Trails in the Sky first chapter, but I've never played any of the Trails games. Well, that's not technically true. Before I bought the remake, I played the demo of that remake up until the end of the prologue, and like the section at the beginning with the farm is as far as I got in the demo, and so I have played about that far in the remake, but I've never played any of the Trails games. I have played a little bit of one of the precursor series. It's not technically a Trails game, but I have an ongoing series that I'm doing on my own time right now of the precursor game of Legend of Heroes Atira Vermilion on my PSP emulator on the Steam Deck. So I guess that's technically a Trails game if you squint and cover an eye. I don't know. But yeah, the original version of Trails in the Sky is my final choice for this, and you'll find out soon which one I end up picking. I'll have to think it over. Of course, you probably won't be able to voice your opinion in time to influence my decision, just because I will probably start recording at the instant I make up my mind, but if you want to share so you can influence future decisions on that front, let me know. And I'll probably be limiting it to 2 ongoing games at a time for the Let's Play right now, just because I will be recording significantly in advance, just because that's how I like to do things. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Ta-ta, everybody!